When you hear that bell, you know you were in the championship rounds with the one and only King Amin of Essex. And I'm here with a good friend of mine, a friend of ours, in this thing of ours, Scotty Goodard, representing Norwich, England. He's here to talk boxing with me. Scotty, let them know how they can find you, and we're going to get right to it.
What's up, guys? I'm Scotty Goodard. Where you can find me is scotty.boxing on Instagram. My fights and everyone's fights will be on there.
Yes, sir. So let's get right to the fights. And this is I just started watching some of the presser for you. I'm talking about Ben and Eubank. Oh, let me start here because I know we talked about this before. The fight is not necessary. At first, when we first discussed this, I said I wasn't excited.
No, yeah.
And I'm not still sold on it. Ben could be doing so much at welterweight. He's one of the young lions. Him, Virgil Ortiz, and Boots Ennis. But I gotta say, I don't know if these guys just because it's in their blood. You get Eubank talking about the fact that he's not going to be 100% because of the weight restrictions is the only reason why it's not going to be a public execution. He talking cash shit. What do you think about this fight, brother?
Yeah, I definitely think he took the cat shit. I think some nerves are hitting him now. And I definitely think that he's always used to being the villain, isn't he? In a lot of fights. He's always the villain. He's never the good guy, let's be honest. He never is. And I think that's getting to him, though. That shit, what he's saying about the weight and stuff, how he won't be 100%. And then you hear Conor Benn say, oh, you're screaming excuses already, blah, blah, blah. And say, all sorts.
Yeah, man, it's putting a different spin on this one. Again, if I put the pressure on Conor, I'm gonna tilt it back on Chris. He could be fighting Andrade. He could campaign and try to get the Triple G fight. I know he's indisposed. He could try to get Charlo. So there's still some things to be done at middleweight. But yeah, these guys are making it exciting. Yeah, man. As far as who you got in this one?
Oh, I would love Ben to win. I would love that, but I don't think he will.
Now, initially, I had it straight away. I said, yo, Eubank's too big. He's been in it with Billy Joe Saunders. But the whole weight thing is starting to sound intriguing. Maybe he took a page out of Jake Paul's book. And I know fighters have done this over time, but as far as just setting a more stringent restriction as far as hydration clause and things like that, that might tilt the scales in Ben's direction, literally, because if he's allowed to weigh a little more, his punches maybe can be a little bit more heavy. He's already a heavier puncher, but still, I think the experience of Eubank and the natural size advantage, I think it's good, and the height advantage.
Definitely shocking height advantage. Do you know what? I didn't expect it to look like that. When they came face to face at the end press conference, I know Conor Benn's like 5'8" something. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, Chris Eubank's 5'11", but he looked bigger than 5'11" next to Conor Benn for some reason, and that does show a big difference.
Yeah, and then you talk about the jab and the Roy Jones, because the double pedigree for Eubank. He's got a double pedigree with his dad and the Roy Jones. They share DNA now. So
he looking like Roy Jones in his last fight. He do be looking like Roy Jones in his last fight. I can't lie.
Yeah, but Conor, he's going to give it his all. And I think what this does do for each fighter, and sometimes, again, talk about taking pages out of books. This is a page out of Canelo's book. Like, if I go up and wait to do something great, the loss kind of doesn't count. Amanda Serrano did that as well. You know what I'm saying? Moving up. Yeah. She's like, yeah, but I'm still the baddest featherweight. I went up to 135 and I lost to the best. Like, there's no shame in that, right?
Yeah.
So I think both fighters will definitely have that opportunity to go back to their respective weight classes. But, go ahead.
I was going to say, can I ask you, do you believe they both have an excuse of what if any of them lose?
Yeah, and it's very justifiable because, well, only one of them really has an excuse.
Yeah.
Conor Benn has an excuse. Eubank does not have an excuse. He does not have an excuse. Because of the, again, natural size difference, the experience, he does not have an excuse. Conor Benn, on the other hand, again, he's more along with Canelo, Serrano. Hey, I went up for greatness. no shame in that. Now I'll get back down to business, down to the weight where I'm at, and handle things there.
Yeah.
So great question, man. Great question, man.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, because I mentioned that this fight may or not be necessary, but um talked about Canelo, a page out of his book. He's writing a trilogy in the third chapter between him and Triple G. I'm telling you from the bat, I don't like this fight because I think moving Triple G up to 168, where Canelo's already been campaigning, he's already demonstrated that he's a puncher kind of boxer, but Triple G may just, have nothing, feel as though he has nothing to lose and leave it all out there. But what do you think about this fight?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's another. I think that's it's not one of them fights where it's unpredictable. I think it is quite predictable, and I think Canelo probably will stop him this time. Just due to leaving it so late, and Canelo had been doing his own thing, beating people's asses and shit. Well, Triple G was inactive essentially, really, and I think that's gonna pay up on him on this trilogy.
Yeah, man. Triple G, I give him a lot of credit. He's done his work in the middleweight division. But one of the things I always said about him, he's not primed for, this kind of pound for pound thing to where because moving up to 168, that would be bad news against whomever was there. But again, he kind of has the comfort of doing it against Canelo, because I'm just thinking against some of the other guys at 168, he'd have a very difficult time. You know what I'm saying?
I'd like to imagine putting him right with when Callum Smith was fighting at 168. Do you get what I'm saying? I think it's not. Yeah.
Because Triple G's there to be hit. The head movement is, he likes to shift and he can change his angles, but his head is usually there to be hit. And although he does work the jab, he kind of, leaves himself vulnerable. I know people back in the day used to say, yeah, he likes to, he's just selling a little bit to look like, nah, man, nobody does that. So with that said, of course there's other things, we may think that could be doing, but this fight, it's going to happen. I'm going to watch it. I got Canelo as well. So we'll see how that one turns out. We also got to talk about, man, Tyson Fury, another trilogy. He's talking about, I think you mentioned to me before, is he going to be the first heavyweight to have 3 trilogies or something like that?
Yeah, that's what he reckoned.
But look who he's fighting, Derek Chisora.
That's what I mean. He just edged it with Pulev not long ago. How are you going to compare Kubrat Pulev to Tyson Fury? How was that even? Do you get what I'm saying? They're not. I think Derek Chisora, he probably know deep down he ain't gonna win that. He know it deep down. I think he even know that.
Well, he did mention. It's funny you say that, because he mentioned how Tyson Fury is kind of putting it out there that Chisora's moving the goalpost or somehow making it difficult. And he said, brother, this is all about the money for me. This is about a bag. I'm a fighter, so this is another fight I don't want to happen, because talking about how a fight will play out. This is the puncher versus the boxer. And the boxer happens to be able to punch because he's a pretty big guy. The puncher, even if he tries to box with the boxer, he's going to be way too vulnerable. I don't see this fight going anywhere. Fury just came out of the thing with Deontay Wilder, which, if, we could just move to that, Deontay Wilder is coming back against Robert Helenius. What do you think about that?
I think for Robert, it's good news. Because I think he probably want this fight. He's always wanted this. I think, really, because let's be honest, he has always fought top level heavyweights. Robert has, and so I think he has no problem. He's happy with this. But I think, like I was saying, I think he's going in 3 rounds.
Yeah. And some guys may have changed their opinion on Wilder, after losing to Fury, but we have to double down and say he only lost to the best heavyweight out. Yeah. And the other thing, I think, the opinion will remain that if I go in there and I can somehow withstand the Wilder power, I can outbox this guy, because this guy's not going to try to box me. He's just trying to hurt me and hit me.
Yeah.
Hurt me. Um, but Hellenius, I don't think he's the kind of boxer that could present enough challenge. I don't know if his beard could take the punch, and I don't know, if he comes in there and tries to, box. I think sometimes fighters they feel in themselves and they say, "Hey, it's the one chance I got. I got to go for it." He's been known to have a little pop too in his own right.
Yeah,
So we'll see what they do. That fight, a lot
that's
of
it.
people, what do you think about it being a pay-per-view fight? Some people had some issues with this, say, hey, why do I have to pay for Deontay Wilder versus Robert Helenius pay-per-view? What do you think about that?
I think people should just be grateful he's coming back. Wilder, and he's fighting back. So I think it's okay being pay per view. I'd be watching it for Wilder, not Robert. In no disrespect, but I would be, and
Sure.
I'd like to see Wilder take his steps up again, take these small steps, and yeah,
And those steps, one of those steps could be Charles Martin. Now,
definitely.
Charles Martin, I think, is a more fearless type boxer. He won a punch with a puncher. You saw, what happened between him and Luis Ortiz. He was in that fight until he got stopped. He's a southpaw as well, and also a common opponent with Anthony Joshua. So for me, what do you think about after Helenius? Not to look past Helenius, but after Helenius, maybe a Charles Martin in route two. Anthony, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that would be very good and comparable, because you could compare the fight where he had with Joshua, where he got out. He got knocked out in 2 rounds, and then you could compare it. Whereas if he went with Wilder, how many rounds did he last with him? And you could compare them fights with Charles Martin together, and look at them both. Do you know what I mean? And that could set up a fight between Joshua and Wilder almost. And I think that would be brilliant.
And look, in some bizarre world, we know this fight's next week, but in some bizarre world, perhaps Joshua beats Usyk, Wilder beats Helenius, he beats Martin. We get Joshua instead of the big UK fight. We get Joshua and Wilder, and then like so weird world. Maybe something like that happens. But
I would love that. Do you know what? I would love that. I'd pay definitely to watch it. I'm not gonna lie, when Fury and Wilder first fought, I overlooked that fight. I thought, load of bollocks. I did. I'm not gonna lie, I wanted him to fight Joshua, and everyone did. They were quite upset about it. But then Fury came back, and he proved us all wrong, and he done his thing.
yeah, and listen, that's the reason why I hate him, I love him. Fury is in the position to talk about it. Now we know we don't want to see a Wilder and Fury 4, but
No,
if somehow in a bizarre world, it necessitated it, I don't even think Wilder takes that fight. And I just think, it's something that he'd be ready to move on from.
yeah,
But we got to stick to what's happening out here. And what is happening is this weekend, we got Teofimo Lopez, his return to boxing, but not at 135. He's coming in at 140. And something, you mentioned this. Last, earlier this week. And then also, I think Tim Bradley echoed this sentiment. Some people said there's a chance because of the way Teo's been behaving or acting that he could get stopped somehow. He could get, upset somehow. What do you think about that idea? Are you still sticking behind that, or did I misquote you or what?
no, yeah, you did get me there. I think, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and now listen, what I saw what Tim Bradley said, it's the thing we talk about with boxing where and he talked about it with himself too, as far as you have to kind of change what's going on around you. So we know Teo still got his dad in his corner. I got no issues with that. Let's see how it works for him. I think he added a coach or something like that. I know Rolly, has been teasing him in camp and,
Uh,
kind of even, ribbing him a little bit, saying we call him Teofimo, maybe assuming that he's in his feelings or he's got some. So I don't know. Whenever there's uncertainty surrounding and you ain't even getting the ring yet, man, it doesn't really,
yeah. Well, Rolly, he likes to chat his shit. He liked to he liked to come onto any of the fighters and talk his thing. But I think Lopez might have something up his sleeve, and
Yeah, I don't want to throw him away. I don't want to be one of
no,
these guys that I'm not too particularly kind of where we start to chastise a fighter. I think this is his opportunity to come back. Now, again, people are, making fun of him, but I think it takes that audacity, It takes that
yeah,
audacity to get in the mind frame to go in there and go to war. So if that's what he need to do.
Yeah. And like I said, these steps, they're always important. Taking these steps is what makes them a better fighter sometimes, though, you know?
Now, what if an upset does happen? Where do you think that puts him?
I think, I wouldn't say, do you know what? I couldn't tell you. I wouldn't say, I think a lot of people will just underestimate him for the rest of his career.
And I have to agree with that, because I think if he lost to Kambosos, you know, that wouldn't be so bad, right?
Yeah.
Kambosos lost to Haney, but you know, the lineal aspect is there. But you know, if he lost to, you know, a relatively unknown fighter, but a veteran moving up in the division, it would kind of signify something's wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And that's what I mean. And it'll always be talked about, no matter what.
Yeah, man. But I hope, and because we're boxing optimists, let's hope that whatever he has up his sleeve is going to serve him well. Not much action. I didn't really want to, you know, go into it because, you know, I'm going to watch it, but you know, there's Tevin Farmer and Mickey Bay fighting tonight out of Arizona. Are you aware of that?
I see that. Yeah, I follow Mickey Bay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think about this one, since we're throwing it out there?
Oh, I'm just gonna. I sound a bit biased, but yeah, I fancy Mickey Bay.
Yeah, man. I think Bay is he's one of those kind of fighters. I liken him in terms of his long-term sustainability. He's like a Winky Wright. Like the older he get, the more seasoning he get. He doesn't really get banged up. Whereas I think Tevin Farmer, we've seen a little bit too much inactivity from him. Yes, he's a slick southpaw, but I think he's coming up to 135 as well. He already didn't have, you know, much pop. Now he's moving up. I don't know how he'll carry that, but he's definitely a fine boxer. We ain't seen him in a while. He's been on the milk carton, man. You know, this guy's been in witness protection or something, man. But you know, hopefully he's staying sharp. But
yeah.
So I think that's all we got, man. This weekend, like I said, it's kind of dry-ish because we know next weekend we got the rematch between AJ and Usyk. So, man, we're going to get on out of here. But if you want to just tell people one more time where they can find you, or give any last comments, you feel free to do so.
Can I ask you one more question?
Absolutely.
What do you think of Joyce and Parker?
I actually think this is a pretty easy fight for Joe Joyce. I think Parker thinks that he's got the advantage, he's got the edge, but this ain't your dad's Joe Joyce. Like, this is a dig. And yeah, people saw him take a few punches last fight, but he just had to get that rust off.
Yeah.
To come forward with that jab, he's sturdy. And then he's got, you know, the pepper on top, man. So I'm expecting Joe Joyce to really give it to Parker. I'm expecting Parker to try to outbox him, but I see him, you know, go into either a late stoppage or a unanimous decision for Joe Joyce. But I got Joe Joyce all the way, man. Who
I
you
agree
got?
with you. I think, I think Joe Joyce, but I think Parker won't be stopped. I think he'll do his usual thing. He'll survive the rounds being hurt, if you know what I mean. And if that means run around the ring a bit, do whatever he'll do it. Do you know what I mean? He will. We've all seen it from Parker. If he's hurt, he would rather lose by decision than be knocked out.
You know something? I see him though. He can get caught on one of Joyce's power jabs. He can get caught trying to. Yeah, he gonna be trying to run because he said as much. He said, "Yeah, how you gonna catch me? How you gonna catch me?" Come on, what are we playing? Freeze tag or what are we doing boxing? And he's not even saying hit and don't get hit, staying in the pocket. He's literally saying, like, I'm going to dance, you know, dance the borders. Like, and that's not right. But again, Joyce has an effective, a stiff jab. And I think trying to move and get out the way, Joyce coming forward with it and Parker trying to dance. Nope. That he could get himself hurt like that, you know, and I hope that is prophetic, because man, trust me, man, I'm gonna be saluting myself 1,000%. But yeah, man. But yeah, man, definitely. Thanks for bringing that one up. Definitely,
That's
thanks
no
for bringing
worries.
that one up, man. And let the people know where they can find you, man.
Scotty Boxing, always uploading people's fights and my fight. Always here to chat on Instagram as well. Hit me up. Always.
Show us some love, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. As always, leave us some comments. It's King Amin of Essex in the championship rounds. We out of here.
Peace.